hi, Bruce. So it's nice to meet you. My name is Blake. I'm here with Hidden Beats. We are a company out of Ottawa, Ontario. I know you're based in the Toronto area.
That's correct.
So obviously you've been nominated for MusiCounts, one of the top 5 teachers of the year, which is super exciting. Why don't you just start off by telling me a little bit about who you are?
So I'm Bruce. I've been teaching music for the past 14 years here in Toronto. I'm started out as a band teacher, teaching all the brass and woodwind type instruments. But then in the last 6 years, I've been teaching vocal music, ukulele, recorders, percussion at Carleton Village Sports and Wellness Academy, which is not quite in downtown Toronto, but it's in sort of the west end of Toronto. And I
Kind of
love
like Cabbagetown?
It's near, I don't know what would be the best way to describe it. It's like Lansdowne and Davenport. It's like towards Etobicoke, but not quite in Etobicoke. So it's a great school. I have the best students, and this is one of those jobs that doesn't feel like a job, just feels like a lot of fun all day. So I feel very fortunate.
That's so wonderful. So you said you started off with like woodwinds and brass. That's a fun one to teach to students who may or may not know much about the music skill sets, shall we say, going into it.
Yeah, I think I speak to a lot of people who have sort of vivid memories of band class if they had the opportunity when they were a kid, and the initial struggle that is making a sound on their instrument. I would often in September, colleagues would walk past the room. I remember them saying, "I don't know how you do it. It sounds so terrible." And I'm like, that's not the goal. Trying to, anyways, but it's amazing. Kids are so resilient and how they persevere and sort of fall in love with these instruments as the school year progresses. So it's really fun.
Oh yeah, I was definitely thinking my own biases in regards to some very horrific sounds from my clarinet circa grade 9. It was not pretty. I don't know how my parents put up with me. So obviously you're based out of Toronto, like Toronto area, as you were mentioning. Have you always been in the area, or did you move there for teaching?
No, I grew up in Kitchener-Waterloo, where I went to school, and then I moved to Toronto because of my now wife, and started out as a piano teacher in Toronto, and then she is also a teacher, and she said, you love kids, you love music, have you thought about Teachers College? It seems might be a good fit. So that's how I ended up going to Teachers College and becoming a teacher, and I'm really, really glad. Also, Toronto is, I love Ottawa. I've been there to visit family, but a really great city just because it has so much diversity, and particularly at Carleton Village, I get to meet kids who have all different types of backgrounds and learn what they're interested in and what makes them tick. And I think I'm so glad this is where I've ended up.
So if you were in the Kitchener-Waterloo area, where'd you go to school?
I actually went to Waterloo. Nice. My dad taught at Laurier, but I went to the other university, much to his chagrin.
I can only imagine what that conversation was like at the dinner table.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're both great universities.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
No shade, no shade.
That's it.
But that's interesting, especially like you were saying that you're headed more towards like Etobicoke in that area. There would be a really interesting and diverse blend of students in the area that would be attending.
Carleton Village is considered an inner city school within like the Toronto District School Board. So I think one of the things that most attracts me to teaching here too is that you have a lot of students for whom being in music class is one of their, biggest opportunities to get music education. They might not be taking like lessons outside of school. And so this is getting to see them have that early exposure to those opportunities is really, really cool and rewarding in that way. So.
Nice. Well, yeah, I mean, I like personal anecdote, like I did band in middle school, which was just basically recorder and xylophones and stuff like that. And then when I got to high school, I did clarinet for just the 1 year because I'm good at several other things. Music was not one of them, and that's okay. I'm aware of it. But I remember fondly those days. They were incredibly fun, and I had friends who continued it all 4 years of high school. In your opinion, you kind of touched on the idea that some students don't get the option to play music consistently. For you, what's the biggest push for why music should be in schools more?
Yeah, I think that's a huge part of it is that, in terms of equity, the public school system is in the position to offer everybody access to things that, only a few might get access to otherwise. And I think, like yourself, not everybody is going to turn into a musician for a career, but there are tons of careers that involve music and a knowledge of music and an understanding of music and appreciation. And I think, just as, the more years I teach, the more media and, technology and everything is so integrated, you see how an understanding of how music is created or an appreciation for that can really serve all of our students in whatever path they choose to pursue. I think there's also something like really fundamental as humans that gets brought out in students when they come to music class that they might not be getting in all of the other subjects. I think that's true of all the arts, that there's a part of our humanity that really we tap into, and we should make space for that because we're looking at how to really help the entire student, every sort of part of their personality. So I think that's what drives me to keep fighting for, keeping music included, not just in my own school, but I think it's something that should happen at every school.
I'm curious, you kind of mentioned that different aspects of a student can come out with music. I was just wondering if you were able to expand on that a little bit.
It's interesting, I think that, very oftentimes you have students who might struggle in certain subjects, and maybe school can be a challenge, something that might be discouraging in certain aspects, but then really find themselves in the music room. I could think of a number of students who've just come alive. If we're doing drumming, that feeling of like actually touching something and creating, you could just see it on their face, and a chance to express themselves. It's difficult this year because we're not doing singing in schools, but we don't get a lot of chances to just sing together in life, but that's something that we do in school, and it can be really powerful to see kids working together in that way.
That's true. There's very few instances I can think of, like especially as an adult, that you sing in a group, and
Yeah.
all I can think of are people who do, say, like a church choir, or Saturday night at the pub when Wagon Wheel plays.
Yeah.
Other than that, which are two very extremes, it's true. It's very rare that we get to experience that kind of group situation, group joy.
Yeah. Yeah, there's this group, choir, that had this night in Toronto with like adults to go out and just learn choir song, and it was so popular, I think, just because people are like, oh, this is, I mean, there's something that happens in whatever it is that's, you know, released into your body when you're singing with other people. That's really, you get kind of hooked on it. So it's cool.
It's true. I mean, that kind of leads into my next question is, you know, doing music, which is such a breath-based, let's say, experience, it must be very difficult to teach during a pandemic like this and alter things so drastically.
Yeah, this this year's been challenging, I think, for music programs across Canada, and certainly it's changed a lot of the way I teach. Last year, when the schools closed, sort of for a long stretch of time, I did most of the lessons through making videos for the kids each week for them to do music at their houses, and doing choir over Zoom, which had its own like challenges with getting kids, okay, you're all going to mute yourself, and sorry, it's going to be echoey. And then anyway, so this year we've, me personally, I'm teaching like a grade 7-8 class, but for our music classes, we're doing it all through Google Meet, with multiple classes at the same time, and focusing more on working on rhythms and body percussion, and doing a lot more with technology than we ever did before the pandemic. I used to spend most of the time in music class with singing or playing instruments, things that you could touch, but we've really tried things like Chrome Music Lab, which is this really cool free program. And it's really neat to see kids do that side of music as well, because there's so much music now that, you know, it's almost seamless that you're going to have digital instruments in the music you listen to, and watching kids play with those and create with those has really, really been fun to watch this year. But
I was going to say,
yeah, go ahead.
No, continue. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, I'm also really looking forward to hopefully us getting back to doing the other things as well. But, you know, I mean, you hear this a lot and it's hard to say, but there's been some interesting learning and benefits that I probably wouldn't have done or had this not happened.
No, it's so interesting. I mean, just the way that technology has so seamlessly become part of our lives. I can, with teaching, you know, you've got so many new technologies and different avenues for interacting with students, but also conveying messages that otherwise you would have been stuck only doing via, say, kind of like a monologue lesson style. Now you have all these extra tools. So if you are a different style of learner, students can participate just that slight tweak differently. I mean, you said you've been teaching for about 14 years now or so. So the changes you've seen must be wild.
Oh, it's quite it. We just started using a program called Soundtrap, which is, it's basically GarageBand, but they can work on each other's songs. Like, it's almost like Google Docs. And I, like, if you had told me this would have existed when I started, like, it's you know, works so well on online platforms. Like, it's just really neat what kids these days, and they're like, yeah, this is no big deal. They take it's like taken for granted, but yeah, it's cool.
As someone who is slightly technologically impaired, I am very jealous of younger folks than I, and I'm only in my early 30s, so it's been quite embarrassing watching people just pick up new technologies like that. So I know that you started a music program, I believe it's called Music Mondays, at your school, but you're also working with the Toronto Police with their Music for Mischief program. Can you just talk about a little bit how you got involved with those programs and just what they are?
A few years back, actually, we have the Music for Mischief concerts we're not currently doing them, but that they were finding avenues to showcase the success of students in communities where police were building like liaisons within those communities, and using concerts and music to showcase the successes of those students. It was really, really fun to be part of, because it brought us together with other different schools, and got to get our students out of the building and into the community and expose, showcase them in that way. And that was, I was very fortunate to work with a principal named Laura Lee Eccleston, who is a fantastic musician in her own right, and she had a choir. It was amazing. Yeah, the Music Monday has become the term that we use for the Google Meet Music as the login code, no matter what day it is. That is the that's just how you access the the code. So that's become the term. It could be on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, but this is when. And actually, it's interesting having it's just having all the classes do this Google Meet Music together. It's meant that all the teachers have become more involved with music instruction, but also that they get to see each other. We do competitions and this year has been, I think, very challenging for kids in ways that we might not understand for a while, but to just at school build in fun and normalcy in any ways we can is been really, really important to sort of keep things light and not focus too much on all the stuff that's going on right now.
That's really wonderful that you're able to have not just all the students, but also the teachers involved as well. I mean, it's been many years since I was in high school, but I remember each teacher kind of had their own lane and had their own specialties. So it's nice to know that you've kind of created this entire community, not just for the students, but for the teachers that are wanting as well.
Yeah, I'm really very, very lucky to work on the staff I work at. I have just incredible teachers here. And also, this came sort of out of personal circumstances and just the pandemic year with health risks and stuff in my personal family. So I was so lucky that they were able to sort of say, yeah, let's try this music this way this year and see how it goes. And it's been really fun.
That's awesome. I mean, we kind of touched on how it's affected the students so far, but what are some of the major issues that you see that students are facing due to the complications from this year?
I think, I guess maybe everybody, but maybe younger people in particularly, they, thrive on consistency. And so I think this uncertainty of are we going to have school in school this week, or are we going to be back online this week? Just that has been challenging. And of course, they really miss the things that we're not doing. They really miss sports and competing with other schools. And that, of course, we all miss so much. But then also just the social interaction, I think, is the biggest thing. That they're sort of within their class, they don't see the other classes and that sort of thing. So those have been the biggest challenges. But as I said, you just try to stay focused on all the things that are not much different than any other year, and there's still lots of learning to be done, and there's still lots of the things that we would have done any other year. So, and trying out new things. I think we've all discovered a lot of, as you said, new tools for learning that probably tapped into some of the talents that kids wouldn't have tapped into maybe in another year.
Because my follow-up was going to be, what are some of the ways that you found students have had much more resilience than you would have thought previously possible in regards to adapting?
Yeah, my own son just moving to virtual and back, and the kids in my class, I would have anticipated it would, that it would be a much more of a struggle than it was. They seem to, okay, that's what we're doing. Yeah, sure. All right, we're doing it this way, and maybe that's too just that they are, so digitally inclined that in lots of ways their social life, right, maybe before this was already involving this type of communication, so it isn't so strange for them. I think it has been as you said, much more strange for the teachers and the people for whom, like, how do I get this Google Meet to work? Anyways, so yeah, they've seemed to adapted really, really quite well. But you know, they've been in a pandemic for a larger percentage of their life than we have. So I think, you know, whereas it's kind of like this idea of what is the other side and how will we be back to normal, that sort of thing. They ask those questions. So
Yeah. The natural curiosity that we all have at this point.
yeah.
Yeah. It's just so funny. All I could think of was "You're on mute" needs to be like the official slogan for 2020.
That's right. So many times.
Oh, so many times. I am interested just because you started off as a piano teacher and then decided to go to teachers college. What was that like for you? You know, it wasn't the initial path and the initial plan, but instead experiencing that without having any prior mindset of what teachers college was going to be like. What was teachers college like for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, I had never really, I guess, I had always worked at summer camps when I was younger, like, but I had never really put together in my mind that, you know, teaching would be a really great way to use music as part of a career and also get to work with kids. And so I think it all kind of clicked when I was in teachers college, like, yeah, this really makes sense. I really enjoy this. And, you know, there is something so cool about getting groups of students to do music together. It's like you're given a band that you get to arrange and get them to arrange and get to figure out who's going to play what. And that's something, you know, playing casually in bands as a kid or playing saxophone, that was like my funnest times. So you know, getting kids to say, okay, I'm going to take the drum part, you take the ukulele, like that is, it's really, really fun. So I think, yeah, it all kind of clicked, like, yeah, this is what I was supposed to be doing.
I mean, saxophone, ooh, you want to talk a complicated instrument. I had friends who did both like alto and tenor, and they did jazz band, and I just looked at their instruments and was immediately confused. So the fact that you were able to just switch between different instruments is already super impressive. I'm curious, you know, being in Toronto, which has a very large, very vibrant, thriving music scene, has basically come to a halt due to COVID. I was just curious, you know, you've got students that want to become musicians, I naturally assume, based on their interest. What's it like in Toronto, and how are musicians dealing with it there where things are so uncertain?
I think, you know, I think it's really, really hard that I know we have, you know, parents of students at the school who have helped us out with different things. There's a guy named Selçuk Suna who plays clarinet, like professionally, and he helped us out with one of our musicals. And now he's like his whole career is like that's what he did. He went and played places, and it hasn't happened now in a year. And I have other friends who are musicians who play in Toronto who haven't been able to do the thing they do for a year in the way that, you know, you've seen virtual concerts and you've seen these sort of things, but it's just not the live experience. And so I think they're kind of, you know, in Toronto, you meet a lot of people who are, you know, really looking forward to a chance, hopefully, to get back to live music, not only for their livelihood, but also because that's their identity, that's who they are. And I worry, you know, what the impact will be artistically for Toronto, for actors, for theater after this. And yeah, you know, potentially students who might have seen, you know, music or performing arts as a pathway for a career, that maybe they're hesitant now. But I think the students I teach are, you know, young enough that they're probably not they haven't figured out what they're doing with their lives yet. So they probably are far enough away that I don't know. But for the community, for their parents, perhaps, as you say, it's been a very difficult year. I can only imagine.
Because you were saying you teach like grade sevens and grade eights, correct?
Yeah, we have kindergarten to grade 8 here at the school, but yeah, our oldest kids are grade 8s.
Yeah, so everything is just fun and exciting for them right now. They're not thinking too many steps ahead.
That's right. They're doing like, what am I going to take in grade 9? It's not, yeah.
Which, to be fair, having to decide if you want to take the college courses or the university courses, and that whole route was terrifying at that age.
Oh yeah. Well, fortunately, they have stopped that. I think this year, it's now there's just one course in grade 9, so
good.
It's a lot less stressful. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
But, I was just curious, like, you obviously were nominated by several people, I'm assuming. What did it mean to find out that you were nominated for the award?
It was very overwhelming. It's not something, that you're interested in or asking for. Like it's very but I think the fact that it was MusiCounts, that this is all happening through, has just been very, very meaningful, because they have been incredibly supportive of not only the school I'm at right now, but also the school I was at before, in terms of providing grants for instruments. And the impact that had on our music programs was immeasurable. And so it just really, without those tools, without having the instruments to teach the kids on, there's not the same level of music program we have at the school. So a lot of that goes back to when those grants came to the schools. And it was a parent named Andrew Patton at our school who put together the grant. And I saw him, I was so grateful, because it's been really an overwhelming week, in that you're hearing from people, you don't really teach thinking about recognition. You teach about thinking about how you can get your students recognition, and how you can get them to perform to their potential at a concert or in class, and feel like they're feeling really good about what they've done. And so, but I this week been thinking, well, this will be one of those things I'll remember 15, 16 years in the future in my career, to keep you going. So yeah, it's been really cool.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, teaching such a selfless profession, you literally are putting just every generation that comes next kind of before your own life. So I was just so interested to hear how it felt to be recognized like that, and just get plucked out, how overwhelming that would have been.
Yeah, it was very overwhelming.
Yeah. You had mentioned that you have a son as well. How do you find, it's difficult to take that teacher hat off when you go home, versus also having the parent hat on 24/7 when you're at the school?
I think teaching kind of prepares you well for parenthood. You learn a lot about what are good ways to interact with kids and what aren't, and you learn those things really quickly when you're a first-year teacher. So I still learn so much today in my job about just people skills. So hopefully that transfers. But yeah, I'm very lucky, because he's awesome, and very much one of those people I most love hanging out with. So it's pretty easy to put on the dad hat when I get home. And he's doing some piano now, and I think interested in some of the things I do at work too. So it's been fun. Certainly, the best adventure of all of them is getting to be his dad for sure.
Oh, that's so awesome. What do you think is the biggest change? Obviously, COVID aside, how would you say, or what would you think are the biggest changes that have occurred in your teaching career, just with how students interact with you, how you interact with students, or just issues that students are facing today?
That's a really interesting question. I feel like you kind of, it's like, back in my day, people always say this sort of thing, like, but it feels like the more I teach, I see that, students have the same things that we all had growing up. Every year, there are definitely changes in technology and, how much they have to deal with in terms of those things. And that can be very, very challenging. But when it comes down to it, it's all just about learning how to interact and how to be respectful of each other, how to look for ways to lift up those who need to be lifted up. And I think I don't see a huge, fundamentally, I don't see a huge difference in kids from when I began teaching to now, but you're even as the world around them changes.
That's
That
awesome.
makes any sense. I don't.
No, it's refreshing to know that as much as things change, some things stay the same.
Yeah, yes. That's much better said.
That's beautiful. I mean, I don't want to hold you too late. I just realized that it's now 6 o'clock and you probably got lesson plans and things to grade. But what would you say if, for someone who's interested in going into the teaching career, what is something that surprised you about teaching? And what is something that you found came a lot easier to you than you didn't think was going to?
Oh my gosh. I think one of the things that surprised me is maybe the amount that goes on behind the scenes before you're ready to give your first lesson. I think when I was a student, I probably just assumed that teachers just showed up and started talking. And I probably didn't quite realize how much other stuff they do. And then I think what's surprising for me is that, as particularly this year, I think that there are times when I felt, wearing a mask and all these things, I felt just thinking like the uncertainty of what's going on for myself. You no matter how much of that you might have, that kids are the best people to work with, and they will always give you the energy to get through the day because like they're just so much fun that I can't really imagine having to work with just adults all the time as a job. I think that just makes me so lucky that I get to meet these people and hang out with them. So yeah, they're always a source for inspiration and for energy, which is really cool.
That's wonderful. So obviously with MusiCounts, it's not just a nomination. There is also the fact that if you win, there is a very large prize that goes towards the school for musical instruments. Do you have anything in mind yet? Or are you not putting too many eggs in the one basket yet?
Well, I did think they this year, I think maybe for the first time, they gave the top 5 nominees $1,000, and I was thinking there's quite a few ukulele. I don't know if you've played if you have a guitar or a ukulele, but the necks are starting to come away from the bodies. The strings are, and I was like, I think it's time we could replace those. That would be amazing. So yeah, and then there's always things. And I as you say, I'm not. You don't want to get ahead of yourself, but then as a music teacher, there are always things you think of as the thing that would expand the program. Different instruments, we've talked a lot about getting a few things to record. Now that students are so into the digital stuff we've been doing, what are some ways that we can integrate a little bit more of the digital instruments into the classroom? So yeah, it's, there's never an end to the repairs and the the thing, like that's just the part of the program. And this is why MusiCounts is just so incredible, is that they have seen this as a need and something that they've been just helped so many hundreds of schools with in their programs. And I know every other teacher who has gotten the grant must have felt the same, just like this will make a huge difference. And they're even starting to do programming for providing curriculum for teachers. They have this like program, I just saw that it's called Canada, and it's talking about like how to teach Indigenous music through in the classroom. And different contemporary Indigenous artists like Jeremy Dutcher and stuff. And I like, it's just really cool that there's an organization, like something in Canada that's just like pushing the envelope like this. So it's, anyways.
Oh no, I work with Indigenous folks at my other job. So the fact that
No
we're
way.
decolonizing and re-indigenizing a lot of the education system, and especially getting the younger kids involved right away so that they're not our age and unlearning things as an adult and they are more aware, is absolutely wonderful. And just personal anecdote, I have a friend, Olivia. She used to be in a band called Olivia and the Creepy Crawlies based out of Toronto, and she plays ukulele in the band. And she would just take care of that thing so meticulously, because one little warp and it was ruined. So the fact that you guys are constantly, it's not just the getting the instruments into the school, it's the constant upkeep, the repair, getting extra strings, the reeds even. I mean, I know they're not expensive, but when you have how many students per year, it does add up. So that's wonderful. If you do get to go to the Juno Week, is there anyone in particular that you're looking forward to meeting, musician or artist-wise?
I believe it might be virtual this year. I don't know, but I'm a huge fan of Canadian music. We've done so much. I think the cool thing about in our classroom, like we've done so many songs by like that the kids are like, whoa, that's a Canadian. So like we've done like a lot of Shawn Mendes and Alessia Cara, and then done some stuff by there's a musician called Desiree Dawson from BC that they were like, oh, this is really cool. And Selena Ryder, and I think it's really important, and this is like why the Junos are so awesome, is like celebrating that, Canadian musicians are top flight, like world class. And, and a lot of the times I think our kids might not realize like right away that is a Canadian musician. So anyways, yes, that would be, if there were a Juno ceremony, yeah, it'd be really, it's really awesome.
Yeah, I remember growing up watching, like the Much Music Awards, the Junos, things like that, and just being like, wait, they're Canadian? Like, just getting so confused, but also like really proud at the same time. It was like a weird combination of both.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sitting down and chit-chatting with us. You have such a positive and wonderful energy. It's really no surprise that you were nominated. And it's just been wonderful to talk to you. I guess last two questions. One, what is something about teaching that people may not know about that you've always wanted to, whether it's a humble brag or just explain to folks that you get to experience on a day-to-day life that really makes you excited about teaching?
That's cool.
Aha, we stumped the teacher.
I was gonna say there's I like I don't I feel like most people, because they were in school, have an idea about, you know, school and what it should be, and you know, even like what the music room should be like. And I think one of the things that I often hear people say is, you know, when I was in school, someone told me I couldn't sing, or like or maybe not in school, but like I was told when I was a kid that I couldn't sing, and I don't think I can sing. And I think one thing I've learned in the music room, you know, and maybe something I always believed, is that everybody can sing, and that, you know, everyone has a beautiful noise that they can make on an instrument, and that, you know, there isn't a single kid or a single person who isn't a musician. That, you know, that's not like an exclusive club you have to audition for. So that's something, and it's played out. I've seen it over and over again, that everyone who, you know, tries can do those things. You know, as long as you don't set up a way of telling them that they can't, you know. So that has been something cool to see over the years.
That's beautiful, yeah. And then my last question I always ask folks is, you know, with COVID obviously disrupting and making some massive changes, what are some of your favorite local places that you kind of want to just promote, highlight, give a shout out to? Obviously try to keep it as more like local or independent as possible. Just chains don't need more help.
Oh, there's like really, really local. Maybe the Sovereign Coffee Shop. If you guys want to go there, it's around the corner. They're the best people. You can check them out.
Oh yeah, we've had everyone talk about like a sandwich shop, coffee shops, whatever. I just really like highlighting things within the community that not only just bring joy, but are also, you know, that third place where it's not your work, it's not your home, it's a third place that you really enjoy. So that's wonderful. Well, awesome. Mr. Millerd, Bruce, it was really wonderful chit-chatting with you. Best of luck with the competition, and it's been really, really wonderful talking with you today.
Thank you so much. And I loved the vlog, the blog, checking out all those artists that you have on there too. It's really, really
Oh yeah,
cool.
we've interviewed a lot of people over the last year, so it's been really wonderful. Yeah,
Really impressive.
Yeah, almost all Canadian too. There's only been, I think 3,
6 US, and 1 or 2 UK.
Oh, it says, okay, so it's like 8. I can't count. But yeah, they're almost all Canadian as well. So if you want to share those with the students too, it's really up to you. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much as well.
Okay. Bye, Ottawa.
See you later, Toronto.
See ya.